could stay like this, forever following you.
Good morning and welcome to SEN Stream. Today we look at the week ahead leading into mid-semester break. We reflect on what it is that we should be doing and when. Mike is stuck in his house. We take a look at the tweet of the week. We look at some additional training opportunities with Elsevier Publishing. And we take some questions and provide some answers on the chat. Guys, stay tuned. I'll explain what's going on in 1 second. Take it easy. Guys, good morning. Welcome to episode 17 of the SEN Stream. Now, there's one thing that's always sat really uncomfortably with regards to live streaming, and is that, I look at all these people, 40,000 people, viewers, 40,000 viewers, 50,000 viewers. And there's one thing that they always have in common. And the thing that they have in common is that they stream from their bedroom. Now, unfortunately, the national infrastructure, the national rail infrastructure today has very much let me down. And as such, I am stranded in St Neots without being able to get a train to London. And as such, we've had to just think outside the box a little bit and actually do the stream from what is essentially my bedroom. Now, I've got in a corner. I don't want to be sharing my entire life with the student body, as it were. So I'm making the best of a bad situation. So the likelihood is the stream doesn't look quite as good. It probably definitely doesn't sound as good because I don't have the mics with me. But hopefully it's good enough for me to continue to do the stream, take some questions, provide some answers, and keep you guys up to date with what is going on. So what I would say is welcome to Cambridgeshire, because that's where the stream is coming from today. So Dakota, good morning. Nice to see you. Ted, you've sent me a link. I'm going to show it. Not sure. I'm hesitant to click on it. Let me know what it is. I might click on it after that. Dana, good morning. If there's anybody out there who's watching in the background and wants to let us know they are watching, then please get involved. So we have a bunch of updates for you today, which I'm going to run through with you shortly. But again, I've got the live chat open, so if anyone does have any questions, then please feel free to ask them as we move through the stream this morning. So as always, we're going to kick off with the module updates. Let me just get my screen so you guys can actually see it. We're going to move on from here. So that's all wrong. It's all been a bit much this morning, but we're going to get through it and we're going to power on. So advanced performance nutrition. This week you had a session on ketones. I've just remembered I haven't put up the feedback form for that session as yet, but I will make it available to you. But the biggest thing that I would say that you guys need to just get on and do is just take the opportunity to have a look at the assessment hand-in dates sheet, or the Google form, sorry, that will hopefully provide a bit of a student consensus on when you guys want to hand in your coursework. So if I just head across very quickly to that site, I believe I still have it open up here. Just 1 second. So I can see here 8 responses so far. I don't want to share these too heavily, but people have started to make their selections for the dates that they feel are most appropriate. If you haven't done that yet, I need at least half the student population for the module to put in their votes, because then it will be representative of most people. So I'm going to set a bit of a deadline by next Tuesday for that to happen, so that I can let people know exactly when it is that they need to get their assessments, like the videos swapped, the assessments handed in, etc., etc. So once we know those things, people can start planning accordingly. So if you haven't done that, please get on it and fill the form in so that we can go from there. Just to go back to the chat, good morning, Antonia. I hope you're feeling better. Antonia's not been very well, so please send her well wishes. Ted, it's safe, don't worry. We'll come back to it, Ted, is what I would say. Okay, to continue on with the updates. Yes, I need to put the ketones feedback sheet on, so just bear with me on that front. I think the main thing that I'd like you to focus on moving into the mid-semester break is looking at the formative assessment. So just start making some headway on that. It's, again, I've told you all just to have a bit of a light touch on that one. But do make sure that you get something in. Now, the video isn't hugely long, whatever video you've been allocated, but it'll give you an opportunity to kind of work through what you're going to be expected to do on the summative assessment. So it's really worth doing. Then when we look ahead to week 7, so we're in week 5 at the moment. Week 6 next week is mid-semester break. Then when we return after the mid-semester break, or student engagement week, we'll then have Dr. Lindsay McNaughton coming to speak to you about protein feeding. What's the best thing to do? She also works for the Scottish Institute of Sport as a performance nutritionist, so she's got a lot of applied experience since she's finished her PhD. So her expertise is in protein metabolism. She's going to come in and talk to you guys about that. So do make every effort to be at that session. She's coming all the way from Stirling, so make sure you guys get across and get involved. Chat, I have no idea what the sound is like on this. Just let me know if you guys can hear me, if there's any problems, and I'll try and do something about it. But let's move it on to the next module as we move ahead. Excuse me. So, nutritional assessment. Now, Claire is actually on annual leave at the moment, so I didn't get any specific updates regarding the module directly from her. However, I did take the opportunity to pop onto the Blackboard site and just have a quick look as to what is going on with the module. So I've just taken a small screen grab here. Thanks for letting me know, guys, on the chat that everything's good. Good morning, Alex. Thanks for joining us this morning. So yeah, I took an opportunity to just have a look at the timetable, and now she's put this population surveys in the field. Now, I'll be honest with you and say I'm not quite sure exactly what that is, and hopefully she's spoken to you directly about that talk, but I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. If anyone knows any more about that, please let me know, because I'd be curious to find out as well. But the population surveys in the field, there's a talk on next week on the 27th. It's an open event, again, developing country focus, maybe not necessarily within the immediate remit of you guys, but always try and broaden your horizons when it comes to talks and things like that. You can always get little snippets of information which are quite useful. So in week 7, so we return after the break, we'll be looking at Claire will be looking at the ABCDE approach to nutritional assessment with Claire. This is kind of to highlight the kind of complicated nature of nutritional assessment. So that's going to be led by Claire. It's a good session to be a part of. She's added the E on the end of it for exercise, which is Claire is very good at making sure you guys are always involved in these joint modules, which is excellent. So yeah, get yourselves across to that. It'll give you a broad spectrum of insight into nutritional assessment, which is fantastic. Your magazine article is due on the 13th of March. Again, how are you guys getting on? I'd heard a few students had finished this, which is excellent, well ahead of the curve. How are you guys getting on? Any issues, any problems? Let us know in the chat. It'd be good to get a bit of a measure as to how intense the assessments are on the course as a whole at the moment. That'd be nice to find out. I did have a look at some of the materials that you guys have got access to with regards to this assessment, and Claire has put some real nice feedback. The kind of common feedback that she gave the cohort students from last year. So if you're not quite sure, if you want to try and avoid some of those common mistakes, then take a look at the feedback that Claire has provided, especially the common issues and mistakes. Now, looking ahead for SEN Stream, I'm hoping to get Claire and Jane and potentially even Teddy into the studio once we're in the studio, so that we can actually have a chat about some of the assessments that are coming up. So, I mean, you guys, no responses yet in the chat, but let me know how you're getting on with that magazine article. It'd be good to kind of get a gauge on how things are going. Let's move it on, though, to the next module. I believe this is assessment of health and fitness. Excellent. This is with Jane. So she just said here, well done, everyone, for putting in the extra hours to practice the tests you'll be doing with your clients. So I believe this is with Avoni. Hopefully you're finding those extra sessions with Avoni quite useful. In previous years, we've had other people do these types of sessions. That's why we've got Avoni doing them this year, and they do help. They allow you a little bit more of an opportunity to get hands-on with the kit and the equipment, and just make you a little bit more competent with using some of the equipment. Because it's all well and good having one opportunity to use the kit during your practical sessions, but it's actually that ability to get your hands on and utilize or use the equipment for different purposes time and time again. So excellent sessions, and glad to know that you guys are taking that up as well. So when you James just said here, when you come back from student engagement week, you'll have the chance to do a trial run of the tests and body composition analysis you intend to do from the beginning to the end of your groups, including filling out all the appropriate forms that you would do on the day. So again, no surprises for the assessment for the assessment on assessment of health and fitness, which is excellent. So do take the opportunity to go along to the session and do that. And then finally, Jane has kind of give you a bit of a nudge towards what you could be doing in the student engagement week. So she's hoping that you're developing your critical presentations for the ergogenic aid. I'm not sure. Do you guys get a choice in the ergogenic aid that you're using this year? Are you choosing it, or have you been given a list? It'd be good to know. Just someone let me know in the chat. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, develop your presentations, and she's going to get some presentation practice in on the 28th of March, so 1 week before your presentation. So hopefully everyone is kind of tracking ahead and getting those done. Again, presentations for people can be a bit of a funny one. My general advice to you all, though, is to try and minimize the amount of text that you've got on your slides. That's the biggest thing that is, one, irritating to see, and two, reduces the quality of your presentation, simply because it when you're nervous or anxious, or when you're not quite sure what it is that you want to say, you then turn to the board and you start reading off the slides, and it just becomes a really non-engaging presentation. Whereas when you think about it from a very visual presentation, like screen grabs of figures that are presented in papers from key papers that, from key research papers that have been done on that particular ergogenic aid, they can be good. Figure diagrams that show the timeline of the study, so you can talk through the design, kind of forces you to be a little bit more eloquent, a bit more open, and a bit more considered when you, and forces you to face the audience as well, which are all good presentation qualities that you'd want to involve in your presentation. So get on them, take the opportunity to take the practice, and then you'll be all set for the assessments forwards. On that as well, because I'm going to talk about it, the design study presentation is also a nice opportunity for you to get a little bit of presentation experience as well. So again, make sure that you prep something that's appropriate for that. So 5 slides, 5 minutes, 5 questions. Not hugely time intensive. The time intensiveness comes from the fact that you have to develop the idea in the project. So something to bear in mind. Okay. Moving on, got some updates from Teddy. To prepare for the study design presentation and the 1500 word report using the guidelines available on Blackboard. The guidelines are fairly comprehensive. I had a little bit of a nosy at those. So particularly for the presentation, I sat down with Jamila the other day. She's one of my students that I would be supervising. And we kind of had a bit of a chat about how we might break down the presentation itself. Because you've only got 5 slides and you've got a lot of content to cover on that. So just be smart about how you allocate those slides. So again, you may just want to put your title and your aims and objectives on the first slide and get it all out of the way. Then you've got maybe a slide or 2 to talk about the background. You want to then dedicate a slide to the design, the methodology that you're actually going to use, because that's pretty important. And it's also where you'll get the most amount of feedback from the staff that are sat in the room. So just bear that in mind. The final thing to say, so you're going to cover the ethical considerations and a Gantt chart. Again, you may wish to talk about your ethical considerations for your project, but then dedicate a slide to the Gantt chart itself. Again, I did a presentation or a lecture for Research Methods for Health Sciences 2. I gave you a nice resource. I think it's called Tom's Gantt chart, Tom's Planner or something like that, where you can develop your own Gantt chart. Another top tip is that if you use Excel, they use a bunch of templates that you can use. So if you put in Gantt chart, or if you put in timeline or planning into the Excel templates searcher, it will give you frameworks to use for a Gantt chart. So it's pointless reinventing the wheel. You just want to use that Gantt chart tool to present the information that's specific to your project. So have a look at them if you've not had a chance to do that, and it will really help the quality of your work. So I'm currently working alongside Teddy and Regina to put together the presentation timetable. Now, if I will put out a formal announcement about this, because I know not all students watch SEN Stream, but if your supervisor is either Sanjoy or Jane, then the likelihood is your presentation will actually be on the Tuesday the day before. Now, the reason being is Sanjoy and Jane are not available during the Research Methods for Health Sciences 2 timetabled slot. And as such, it's going to be impossible for your supervisor to be sat in the room with another person. So I've paired Sanjoy and Jane together, and more information is going to come out about this. But the likelihood is you'll be presenting on the day before in the morning from 10 till 1. But I will put out an official announcement about that probably this afternoon, actually. Rooms have yet to be booked as well. Talking to Teddy, just making sure that we all get on the right page. So if that's you, if your supervisor is Jane or Sanjoy, the likelihood is you'll be doing this Research Methods for Health Sciences 2 presentation on the Tuesday morning. Now, some of you may be going, that's not going to work because I'm not in, and X, Y, and Z, and that's fine. We're just going to have to deal with the problems as they arise. Unfortunately, if I'd known about this a little bit sooner, then we probably could have done something about it, but it just is what it is. So look out for that announcement. If it affects you, and if it affects you in a bad way, then just let me know and we can fix it and do something about it. Now, I'm just concerned that everyone isn't saying anything in the chat, because usually someone has something to say. So I'm just going to refresh that just to make sure that we're all up to date. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. The other things he wants to mention, there's some recommended readings leading into the second half of semester. Now, the second half of semester goes into quite a lot of qualitative analysis and research study designs and such like, which a lot of you may be thinking, it doesn't really suit my needs. And in some ways, in regards to your actual dissertation, it may not be the case, but just don't have a very narrow mindset about your development in that regard. Like, yes, it's important to make sure that you've got the right techniques for your research project, but at the end of the day, the research methods, there's a lot more methods that you need to be aware of coming out of your MSc that you can have confidence in using. So just be open-minded when you come into those sessions and appreciate that different researchers and different ways of collecting data across different sizes of studies, different populations and stuff like that. So be open-minded, be accepting of different ways of working, and you may actually find it will benefit your way that you think about your own assessments moving forward. So just bear that in mind when you attend those sessions. Okay, I'm going to move it on. Teddy also, one of the updates that he said was there's been a couple of timetable changes in week 10 and 12. Now, if I'm honest, I tried to find the original timetable before it was changed to see what the actual changes were. So as such, I've just popped these up here. Now, granted, my daft head is in the way. Oops, hang on a second. Sorry, let me just go back. I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you, but here we are. So we've got week 10. In the morning, you'll have qualitative research methods analysis with Maria. Then you'll have an analysis practical workshop with Regina in the second part of the session. In week 12, it's a double Regina session, implementation research, guidelines for good practice, and participatory research as well. I think you have me and Liza in the middle of those two sessions on week 11 as well. So go and check them out, be open-minded, and you'll probably get a lot of advantage and benefit from attending. So moving it on, let's have a look at a tweet of the week. Now, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a different one this time. So this guy is Matthew Shaw. I'll be honest, I didn't actually click on his profile to find out who this guy was, but I think he works in higher education research, like pedagogy and stuff like that. But he's put here Matthew Shaw @Matthew_Shaw. I used to love participating in as many labs as possible. I feel the attitudes towards this has been shifted somewhat in recent years. I like being a lab rat. Student experiences of research participation. So you go onto his profile and check out this link. I like being a lab rat, student experiences of research participation. Now I actually have this open. It's a study where they looked at 3 different types of scenarios. So students who got involved with semi-structured interviews, an analysis of reflective essays, and what was the other one? Online surveys as well. Now, the reason I mention this is because you're all going to be looking for different types of participants and such like, and there's already existing studies that are going on in the university as well. Now, ethically, I'm not in the position to sort of force anyone to do those types of things, and that's the whole consenting process, as we know, that you need to be there making a free choice that is completely under your taking. And as such, you know, all I would say is just be aware of the studies, and if there's anything that pops up that perks your interest and you meet the inclusion criteria for it, then have a look, consider whether you'd want to take part, because it'll give you a nice insight as to how other people are undertaking their research projects, which can give you a little bit of insight as to, well, maybe sometimes how you might not do something, or maybe a way that you could include a particular element of data collection. So the types of sheets that they're using, the way that they've organized the trial, is it good, is it bad, could it be improved, what rooms they're using, all these types of like logistical things that you can only really appreciate once you actually take part in a study. So do be open-minded in that regard, but again, it's your complete free choice, free will as to whether you actually take part in these studies. But this is a study which looks into some of the pros and cons as a student from taking part in research, if you wanted to go on and find out a little bit more about that type of thing. So check it out. just pointing you in the right direction to find out these things, and we'll go from there. So Alex has been very vocal in the chat. Let's just have a quick look. In fact, I make all these slides and these contingency slides to make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, let's have a quick transfer over there. Okay, Alex, let's have a see. So, magazine articles, I've started but unsure as to how much evidence is required for each anthropometric tool or method. All I would say, Alex, on that front is I will pass that comment on to Claire when she returns, simply because she will be in a better position to be able to give you some insight on that. That's the best I can do at this stage, I'm afraid. An example that Claire put up is similar to what I'm doing. It seems like an opinion piece. Is this okay? I believe it is for this type of thing. So I think what you would probably want to do is go back to the assessment detail, like the assessment descriptor, and just make sure that the way that you're writing aligns with what the description says, and just be very explicit about that. It seems like we're being steered away from including studies, etc. I think that Brad might be away the presentations too. Yeah, I'll come back to that in a second. Right. The best thing I can do here, Alex, is just head across to the site and have a look, so I'm familiar as well. I don't read every single piece of information that's out available to you guys, so just bear with me. Nutritional assessment. Okay, let's have a quick look. Okay. I think this is the key bit here, Alex, to kind of focus on, which has been put in bold as well. So in this assignment, you're required to write an article for a lay audience. You can select to write a feature article or a leaflet. You must explore the utility of your nutritional assessment methods, requires you to go beyond descriptive and method and through inclusion of a critique tailored to the goal of your article. Now, what could be a happy medium here? If you're being steered away from including studies, you could maybe look at the way that the conversation does this. There we go. Antonia's come in and said the same thing. Now, if you are a little bit conscious about putting studies in, you might simply want to change the way that you're referencing. Now, I'll double check this with Claire, but one way of doing that is use the numeric method of referencing. So within that typical academic writing, you would put the author's surname and then the year of publication, whereas other articles you might have come across, they simply use an order of number, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 throughout the text. And then the references list is actually created by the order that the citation comes in the text itself. So if you reference 1, 2, 3, and 3 comes up later on in this in the piece of work, then you still need to use number 3 moving forward. But if you usually do it as a suffix or as a prefix to the text, so it removes the need to kind of break up the writing a little bit, so you can see that it's referenced in some way, but it doesn't dominate the description itself. But again, I will double check with Claire as to whether she wants references or not, but maybe the intensity of those references would probably come down for a lay audience. If you think about like an opinion piece or a descriptive article that you might read in a magazine or in the newspaper, for example, the likelihood is you wouldn't see any references in it. So maybe a happy medium between those two. Now, I mentioned the conversation. Let's just head across there now, because you guys might not have seen this before. Sorry, I can't type apparently. There we go. Ugh. Now, the conversation is essentially a news outlet for academics to submit opinion pieces on there. So if I just rather self-absorbedly do the following. I did a conversation piece, which I'm happy to share with you now. So I said, here's what to eat to recover from an injury. So I did this in the mid-part of January, simply because activity levels go through the roof because people are undertaking their New Year's resolutions, but they tend to overcook it and then typically get injured. So it was topical And that's the whole point of the conversation. It's very topical, it's very current, and it's very in line with what is going on in the kind of popular media at that particular moment in time. But if we look at how I wrote it, it's very, very lay, first and foremost. I tried to avoid technical language where possible, and the editor also forced that as well, because you get an editor that changes all your words all the time. But you can see here that I've simply used hyperlinks throughout for the references that I'm making reference to, because usually academics are fairly uncomfortable with just not putting any citations whatsoever. And it's an opportunity for you to cite your own work, so you get a larger impact of the work that you've been doing. And it also kind of gives a nod to the people who have actually been doing the work that you're referencing and quoting here. So, I'll ask Claire if you do the same, fantastic, but that could be a happy medium depending on what format your article is going to be in, because if it's going to be in a magazine, for example, hyperlinks ain't going to work. But if it was specifically for a website and you could state that, that could be a way of doing that. So there's just some general advice. Antonia's come in. I don't think we have to reference in the article, just put a bibliography so you can see where we have the information used from the article. There we are, fantastic. Josh has agreed. Thanks. I think you might be right. I couldn't see a rubric. Any idea if one exists? Right, you guys can follow up with that directly. I'm going to move the stream on from that. Okay. So, this week, so I take the opportunity here to just point you in a direction which I feel is a tool that you guys might find useful, particularly when you start thinking about writing up your dissertation project. So I went to a training session this Wednesday for a few hours, which was done by Elsevier, which is the big publishing house, which I think they have about 5,000, 6,000 different scientific journal titles under their umbrella. So they're huge publishing outlet. But they come into universities and they inform academics, researchers, etc. about the different tools that they have. And one of those tools that they have is the Researcher Academy. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about that now. Now, again, all declarations out there, I'm not being paid by Elsevier or anything like that. I just went across to their training and thought, actually, the MSc students will probably find this pretty helpful. So let's just have a look at what it is. So you can see here that I'm signed into the Researcher Academy. You can see if you just search for Researcher Academy at Elsevier, you will find a link to that. But essentially, what is it? Now, I'm probably not on the best page for this right now, so let me just go back to the actual home page and hope that I'm still signed in. Yes, here we go. So you can sign in through the university library. You can create an account as long as you sign in through their your university account. You'll be absolutely magic. But you can kind of see here that there's various different modules that you can click onto, which will really help kind of put your mindset in. And it's kind of this section here, writing for research, which I think you guys would mostly benefit from. So you can kind of see here, it's the preparation of manuscript, the fundamentals of manuscript preparation. Now, it's specifically for publishing papers, but if you look at the way that your dissertation is put together, it's a very, well, you might as well be writing a paper for publication. It's just that you're submitting it for the purposes of your MSc. So it needs to follow all of the formatting guidelines from the guidance document that Teddy's provided. But you can kind of see here that there's lots of different things: how to prepare your manuscript, structuring your article correctly, how to write an abstract and improve your article. These are all different little snippets that you can get involved with and have a look at, which will really help the quality of your work. So I had a look from a grant writing perspective, trying to sell your ideas and stuff like that. And it was really nice, really helpful. So if you want a little bit more advice about writing and guiding your writing and stuff like that, then get across to this Researcher Academy. And I think you'll get a lot of benefit from that. Looking on ahead as well, if you're thinking of continuing on maybe into an MPhil or a PhD or a research associate or a research assistant position, and you want to find out more about the scientific publication process, again, an excellent tool for that. It will really give you some nice insight. Most of them are like SEN-streamy type videos where they've got a presenter, someone doing a talk somewhere, and they'll get you involved and show you where different things are. So check it out. It makes a record of your learning as well. I believe you can even print off little certificates, which can be hugely helpful as well. So do take the opportunity to have a look, check it out, and just kind of, again, be interested in the research process and writing research articles, and you'll improve and enhance your ability to do your dissertation. So let's move it back on. Now, a new feature for this week is Dissertation Watch. Keeping you on track is what I would say. So, looking at the general landscape, I think we might just have... Oh, hang on a second. Let me just go back. Oh, I'm having a disaster. 1 second. Okay. Oh, I'm still on the chat view. Sorry, I didn't realise. Let me go back. Did you... I suspect you guys didn't see any of that, which is kind of annoying. Let's just go back 1 second. That's really annoying. This is the problem with doing things differently. Right, let me try that again. Here we go. My apologies. Oh, what a disaster. This is the Researcher Academy. Guys, let me know in the chat when something's going wrong, because it just makes me look daft. Okay, here we go again. Researcher Academy. Let's check it out. Let's click on here. You can see researcheracademy.elsevier.com. I've got an account, I logged in. You can see here, research preparation. There's 9 modules and 3 topics. Writing for research. This is the one I think would be most beneficial to you guys. Click on there. Take a look. You can see the content library, research cycle, whatever. But these are the modules that you probably want to click on. 40 minutes, 45 minutes. You could take them in like little sections of time if you've got the odd little bit here, or there was a specific area that you were interested in. And just have a look and get involved. I apologize you couldn't see my screen. But yeah, just if something's going wrong, just let me know in the chat. So let's head back to the presentation. Now, I was talking about Dissertation Watch, you know, keeping you on track. So where should you be right now? So as part of your Research Method for Health Sciences 2 module, you'll be thinking about, you know, your research design. Now, the whole point of the study design presentation is to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to actually discuss and present your idea to your peers and to at least 2 members of staff. So we appreciate during that presentation that you're not going to be presenting like the final design. You're going to be presenting your idea and the rough general idea and design that you've come up with. Now, some of you may be very clear about what it is that you want to do, while as others have the general topic, they have the general area, and you're aware of what's going on in the field, and you may even go as far as to say, this is the general question that I'm asking, and this is how I might go about answering it. But don't be under any illusion that whatever you present at the design study presentation meet is for your benefit. So someone might give you an example of what happened last year. A few students presented ideas, and they were really nice ideas, but they were just a bit too big. So then again, it would just be a case of the supervisor and the other member of staff sat in the room, just having a bit of a chat about you know, whether that particular question is feasible or not, and then giving you actual suggestions about how you can then go about making it more feasible, so that you guys don't fall into a trap of doing this huge study and then it not actually being practical for you to actually undertake the study. You'll run out of time, you won't get enough participants, the analysis won't answer the question, etc., etc. So there's the whole continuum of I know exactly what I want to be doing to I've got this idea, what do you guys think, and everything in between there. So take that in mind. I don't want to see any sport exercise nutrition students going, do you know what, I'm not going to do it. Please, please, please make sure you turn up and take the opportunity to think. You could literally have 5 slides with 5 images on them, which takes 5 seconds to put together. So but do turn up, do discuss your ideas, don't just hold your ideas to yourself, because ultimately it won't benefit you in the long run. So I want to see all SEN students presenting their ideas at the design study presentation. Alex mentioned that, Alex, you are correct in that Brad is on annual leave during those presentations. However, I've arranged for Gulrez. Mohammed Gulrez is a reader in translational physiology, and he's aware of the type of work that Brad does. So he will be present, probably with me, to see your design study presentation. So he's in a better position than I am to give a kind of critical opinion on the design that you tend to present. So we've made arrangements for those who are working with Brad. I think it's Joanna who's the other person who's working with him. So yeah, Gulrez will be there. So there we are. Yeah, Dana, My apologies on the lack of screen. I forgot to change the screen over to the correct setting. So we're working on a bit of a shoestring budget with regards to SEN Stream today with what I have available, which is not a lot. So with that in mind, guys, I'm going to head back over to the main present. Well, I'm going to head over to the chat, actually. Let's just sort this out a little bit. There we go. Oh, perfect. So, over to you. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, there's one other thing whilst you guys line up any questions that you may have. I emailed the mid-semester break or student engagement week feedback form to your course leaders, well, course reps. So that's Ted, Evie, Francesca, and Sinead for full-time, part-time year 1, part-time year 2. I got a little bit of feedback on the questions that I was planning to ask on this mid-semester questionnaire. They've given me a little bit of insight as to the different types of things that they want covering as well. So I'm going to incorporate those questions into the mid-semester feedback form. So all I would say is just if you have any questions or if you've got any comments, you want to tell us that we're doing a great job, you want to tell us that there's some things that you could improve on a course level, not on a module level, not on a, it can be about specific modules, but just more holistically about the course as a whole. If it happens to be a module problem, then be specific about which module and why that is. And again, I always ask people that if you do have some feedback which is not great, then please provide a suggestion as to how it might be improved, because it's not helpful when you just say this thing's bad. And it's like sometimes you need to take a bit of a step back and go, well, I understand why it is that way, but I maybe sometimes don't appreciate from the student's perspective, and it's particularly from your perspective of how we could then improve it. So if you're going to say these things could be made better in this way, that's really, really, really helpful and really valuable from our perspective. So take the opportunity to find where the form is. I'll make an announcement. Take the opportunity to fill it out, and then we can go from there. It's really helpful to get your feedback and find out what's going on so that we can try and make adjustments and changes where we can to make sure everyone's on the right page. So with that in mind, I haven't had any questions through. So if you are sat on a question or you feel like you need a little bit of clarity on something, or if there's something you need extra advice on, now is your moment to post. Alex, thank you. Here we go. Maybe a question for the end. I meant to ask during the ketosis lecture, but it was a bit coffee drunk. Yeah, we've all been there. Are there any elite practitioners who actively push ketone supplementation? Good question. Well, elite practitioners, not sure, because elite practitioners don't tend to share what they're doing with athletes immensely well. There are a lot of practitioners, as to how they define themselves as being a practitioner, who are very ketone, like ketone fanatics, if you like, which I tend to stray away from anyone who is a particular, who uses particular niche nutritional practices and is almost religious about them, because at the end of the day, yes, putting someone in ketosis is a very specific nutritional strategy which has specific outcomes, but is it right for everyone? I'm not sure it is, and I don't think, well, I know that the evidence to support that type of mentality is not there. And as such, I tend to stray away from those types of things. But it could be something to follow up with. I'm personally not aware of anyone who goes down that route. I'm aware of athletes who are claim to be ketogenic for various different purposes. But I'd leave it with me, is what I'd say. I'll add it to the notes of stuff to follow up with after the session. And we can go from there. But again, think about it from your own perspective. Would you actively push ketone supplementation based on the evidence that was presented during the lecture, and particularly based on the evidence that, okay, that was one big cell-based study, novel because it was a different type of macronutrient that people hadn't been able to get ingested before. But the way that they went about assessing the ergogenic capability of it was, I think it could be better, is what I would say. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, I think we'll call it a day. I need to reconstruct my bedroom. So, if there's no more questions, guys, then I will call it a day. Now, do take the opportunity to kind of, have a couple of days to yourself over the mid-semester break. Be aware of the stuff and take on board some of the advice that I've given with regards to the module-specific stuff. But do also, wind down. That's why we have a break. It's important to kind of switch off. Live a little bit of life and come back to it feeling a bit more fresh. But yeah, try and focus on those specific module focuses. Keep an eye on the assessment map moving forwards. Keep in touch with your supervisors. Make sure that you're in good communication with them in regards to your project. But other than that, I will see you all next week. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Next week we might have some visitors to SEN Stream, which I will let you know. I've been talking to some of the online educational specialists in the university to try and get a little bit more support for what we're doing here. And they seem on board and keen, but they want to see it. So we might have some people in the studio, not necessarily on screen, but just in the background. So if I'm acting a bit more weird than usual, then that's probably why. So anyway, thanks very much for watching this morning, guys. Again, keep in touch, get in touch with your supervisors, get on the projects, but make sure you take a bit of a breather as well. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, and I will see you all when I see you. Take it easy. Bye bye.